So, calling. The last sermon I wrote kind of just like popped out of me. It was a lot of fun. Right, I talked about it. I would type at my desk, and then I'd give my sermon to my cat, and then I'd desk, and then cat, and desk, and cat. And I ended up with a sermon that incidentally was very boring to Cats. He was asleep the whole time. But a sermon nonetheless. And this time was different. This time was a lot different. And a lot of it was because I didn't start in the same eager and excited place that I started last time. When asked to think about calling, I don't feel eager or excited. I feel very annoyed, resentful, and to be totally honest, angry and lied to. Because the way I was made to understand calling back in high school when people started thinking about these sorts of things and started telling me about these sorts of things, it's actually a lot like this picture. It's one lone phone booth ringing for you all the time until you find it on a beach somewhere, and you'll notice that this beach has snow on it, so good luck. And in theory, when you get to this phone booth and you walk into it, you are whisked away into magical adventures across time and relative dimension in space. And while that, yes, was a very well-placed Doctor Who joke, it's actually a pretty good analogy. Because the promise of calling is almost as fantastic. Being happy all the time. When you are living your calling, you will always feel important and fulfilled because you are doing the thing that you are here to do. And even if you're not there yet, but you just know what it is and you're working toward your calling, that's still good news. Because when you're working toward your calling, work won't feel like work. It will just flow out of you like rainbows because it's your passion. And if you have some hiccups in that process, if it's challenging, actually that's still okay news, because if it's hard, it's almost definitely really your calling. But anyway, it is, on its surface, a beautiful image, a worthy goal, a goal that is achieved, as I understood it, by essentially following the following ideal situation. Sophomore or junior year of high school, you have a lightning bolt moment where your calling slaps you in the soul so you can select the correct intended major when you're applying to college. You get into that college, hooray. You don't change your major, not even once while you're in college, because why would you? You're doing your calling. You graduate on time with a job in your field, and then, as advertised, you are literally happy forever. A beautiful image. But an image that begins to fade when you don't get struck by lightning. Or when you don't go to college. Or when you don't get into the college that you hope for, or when you think that maybe instead of being a molecular and cellular biology with emphasis in neurobiology major, doing theater for a lot of your time might be kind of fun. And it loses even more color when you are rejected from all 14 medical schools that you apply to. And for me, the image of calling essentially ceases to be beautiful at all when I came to the conclusion that perpetual happiness, a constant state of happy, is possibly one of the greatest false prophets I can know, because not only is it a lie, it may not even be something that I want. Because happiness only exists in relation to despair, is only exalted from a perspective of deep sorrow, and that by giving up one, maybe I would be giving up both. Calling becomes a source of pain when you are graduated from college, are, for all intents and purposes, an adult except for the career job part, and are told in the same breath that calling is the only thing worth doing, but if you haven't found it yet, the only way you can find it is to wait for it to show up. But be careful not to do anything else that might distract you from missing your calling, because we all know that metaphorical lightning does not strike the same place twice. So, calling? No, I don't like it. Not very much. That, however, would not be a very good place to end a sermon. Because the challenge remains, the question and the longing is still there. Where is God? Where is God in this tattered version of a beautiful image? How can I experience healing in this pool of pain in my soul? There has to be a way to think about calling that doesn't hurt me. And so I thought that calling needed to be redefined, to be reclaimed, rebuilt from the ground up. And so, what is my calling? Big question. We know what I like to do with big questions is make them smaller. So we're going to do that. We're going to go to the basic units of the idea of calling that I had, and if you will, if you'll humor me, we're going to take a fundamentalist approach to calling. It's going to be fun. So the first thing I did was I took everything that I knew about calling, all those things that I've been talking to you about for the past 5 minutes, and I just got rid of them. Gone. Clean slate. Brand new. And so when I started thinking about this and sort of meditating on this idea of calling in a way that, like, hopefully wasn't judgmental, the first thing that jumped into my head was God does not ask of us things that we cannot achieve. A saying that I actually still have quite a bit of complicated feelings about in a similar way as calling, but for the purpose of this thought experiment, I took it at face value. Because in this context, it's kind of good news. So my calling is something I can do. That's cool, that's good. There's some freedom there that I didn't have before. And the second thing I thought about is I wondered if God would call me to something that wasn't available to me immediately, that took me out of where I was, that caused me to go through a period in my life when I wasn't a fully purposed person. There's some like waiting time where I'm not really a human yet. And you can sort of tell from my facial expressions and my tone that I didn't like that idea very much. That didn't feel right. So calling is something that I can do, and it's something that's available to me all the time. It's not something I need special training for. Not everybody gets to go to college. Not everybody lives long enough to go to college or reach calling age. So cool, that's good news too. There's freedom there. And the last thing, the last sort of essential bit that came up was this idea that calling is hard. And when you're experiencing challenge, it's probably your calling, or maybe your calling, and that actually felt sort of okay. Does it make sense that calling would be something that's difficult for us, right? You wouldn't need to be called if you just did it all the time. My calling isn't to like nap all day, because I would just do that. I don't need a wake-up call in the hotel if I have a good internal clock. So, okay, what is my calling? Where is God? Well, it's something that I can do, it's something that I already know how to do, and it's something that is tough for me. Showering every day? Answering emails? Worship team, you know? Brushing my teeth, doing laundry. No, these probably aren't it. Where is God? And so now in my process about Bible time, this is when I'm thinking about what God's position might be on something. And so I went to the Bible and I looked for common themes that popped out about calling. And when I tried to listen to the Bible for messages of calling, the messages I heard were these.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
You are the light of the world.
Forgive each other, just as God forgives you.
Love your enemies. Do good to them. Pray for those who treat you badly.
It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick.
Love each other as I have loved you.
Love each other as I have loved you. Forgive. You are light. Heal. I can't say I was surprised at this particular common theme. I heard a call of forgiveness, of love, of compassion to everyone you meet, even people who treat you badly. We've heard this before. But it fit what I was looking for, almost. And ain't that just the way when you decide to open the Bible? It's tough. Compassion all the time is difficult. That's why we come here, right? That's why we're so enchanted as a people by stories of love and kindness. It's because for whatever reason, on autopilot, that doesn't come easy to us. But we know how to do it. We can do compassion. I've done that in the past. I know how to do compassion. But the question that gave me pause is that available to me at all times? How do I offer healing and forgiveness all the time? I know how to do it here. I know how to do it when I'm buying coffee. I know how to do it when I'm feeding my cat. But what about when I'm at home, alone, sitting on my couch surrounded by clean clothes that I can't motivate myself to fold. Or on the days when I wake up and I have an extraordinarily difficult time convincing myself that getting out of bed today is worth it. What about those times? How do I fulfill my calling in those moments? And when I asked that question, I was struck by a bolt of light. My calling and our calling is, yes, to heal and be healed, to love and seek love, but we are included in that call. We count. The forgiveness we are called to offer can be offered to ourselves, and we are always available to receive that healing. So when I am having trouble motivating myself to do something so adult as brush my teeth, I can forgive myself not for failing to brush my teeth, but for judging myself in the first place as an inferior person for having trouble doing it in the first place. And that open door, that inclusion of forgiveness turns call from pain into power, because it means that I can take a day off and not feel guilty about it. It means that all those things that I thought were my calling are actually my choice, and they are your choice. The way that you fulfill your calling isn't a snowy phone box on the beach. It is however you choose to heal and be healed, to love and seek love. And that is empowering. It means that calling isn't a crossroads between calling and not calling. It's a crossroads between calling and calling, and calling and calling and calling and calling. And if your legs happen to be tired, there's a couch right behind you that has calling written all over it. Calling is the earth beneath your feet at this crossroads, not the path that you choose. And if you stand there long enough, you realize that there aren't any paths. This isn't a crossroads at all. It is simply an expanse of warm sand beneath your toes. It is a desert at dusk that is full of freedom and choice, one that accepts you where you are and welcomes you to come, go, or stay as you please. So, friends, know that when you pursue healing or offer forgiveness, even when you pursue healing or offer forgiveness for yourself, you are loved. Live your call. Find some wholeness. And do it however you choose. Amen. It's empty in the valley of your heart. The sun rises slowly as you walk away from all the fears and all the faults you left behind. The harvest left no food for you to eat. You cannibal, you meat eater, you see. But I have seen the same, I know the shame in your defeat. But I will hold on hope, and I won't let you choke on the noose around your neck. And I'll find strength in pain, and I will change my ways. I'll know my name as it's called again. 'Cause I have other things to fill my time, and you take what is yours and I'll take mine. Now let me at the truth which will refresh my broken mind. So tie me to a post and block my ears. I can see widows and orphans through my tears. I know my call despite my faults and despite my growing fears. But I will hold on hope, and I won't let you choke on the noose around your neck. And I will change my ways, and I will change my ways. a cave walking on your hands and see the world hanging upside down. You can understand dependence when you know the Maker's hand. So make your sirens call and sing all you want. I will not hear what you have to say, 'cause I need freedom now, and I need